Hi everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Um, I just wanted to share, just to talk a little about what I've been studying recently. I've been studying, I've been pretty much reading the Torah from Genesis straight through. Um, I'm in the first quarter of Exodus already by now, and I know, like in my last video, I just get attacked or um, and stuff like that. It's very hard for me to say anything that's clear. So, but you really can't help but see the prophetic foreshadowing in these texts, especially in the book of Exodus. Um, if you're aware how the story of Joseph reflects Jesus and his first and second coming and all that stuff, it's just a really amazing study. Um, and I know when I talk about how I do my studies, and maybe I'm not correct in all my things, of course, but I know it gets bashed for being like esoteric, and I'm making it too complicated, and maybe I'm sure to a degree, for sure I am. I'm just learning and stumbling like anyone else, but I really want people to see that to just go by the English translations. I mean, I don't know biblical Hebrew. Most of us don't know biblical Hebrew, so but we do know that the original Hebrew language has so much more depth than the English language could possibly offer. So there is a lot more depth to these texts that meets the eye. So if we want to say, oh, I wouldn't go down that esoteric rabbit hole, and to a degree there's some truth there, but to a degree the texts do have that capability, and it's for us to discern. But in order to see that, I really just want to encourage people to study the sacrifice of Isaac, Abraham's sacrifice to Isaac, and how that foreshadows the crucifixion of Christ, because I don't have the numbers down, but that portion of the text is rock solid. Okay, I mean, and I think it's very evident and it's factual that God repeats himself in foreshadows throughout the story, throughout the Bible, and it's really cool that way. So I don't know if people get that or if they see that themselves, but everything is a foreshadow of something to come in the future. Everything. And I think what really opened my eyes to this stuff was the sacrifice, Abraham's sacrifice of Isaac, is so rock solid in the text. If you do a really in-depth study of that and study how that's a foreshadow of Christ's crucifixion, from Isaac carrying the wood to even the names of the mountain range and stuff. Like, I'm not gonna miss whatever. Even to the names of the mountain ranges and the names of Isaac and Abraham and the meaning of the names and stuff like that, you really look in depth. It is rock solid. It's really amazing, and it's proof that the text does have other dimensions that meet the eye. Again, when we study the story of Joseph, and the Psalms prove that the story of Joseph is a metaphor or a reflection of Christ in his first and second coming. The Psalms prove that. Just do a topic search of Joseph in the Psalms and you can find that. So it's really amazing. And, instead of sharing what I'm finding and just not having anyone understand me, and it's just being pointless anyway, so I'm just finding amazing stuff as I'm reading Genesis and Exodus. Even at the end of Genesis, maybe I could get the chapter. I think it's really the first the first-hand last day prophecy, when Jacob is on his dying bed, and if I just want to get last day, I think it's Genesis 48 or 49. If I could just turn the page. Come on, man. Give me a break. Alright, I can't turn the page. So, I think it's Genesis 49. Here we go. Jacob's dying blessing. Yes, Genesis 49. When we read Genesis 49 and we see the prophecy of the tribe of Judah, it's just astoundingly reflective of Jesus and of what's prophesied in his first and second coming. I mean, if you know the scriptures, I'm not going to get into it, but it's just amazing. I mean, it's there and it's undeniable. And for me, when I'm reading Exodus, I think it's very apparent that Jesus was the angel that spoke to Moses in the burning bush. Jesus himself in the Gospels said, nobody has ever heard the voice of the Father. So I think Jesus is apparent all over the Torah, just like he said. He says, if you believed Moses, then you would believe me because Jesus wrote of me. That's what Jesus said in the Gospels. And it's just really amazing. And I'm just reading Exodus, and I just see, I'm only in chapter 8 right now. This isn't my first time reading, but I'm just taking the time to study and whatever. And it's just so apparent that the whole book of Exodus is just a prophecy of our future that we're stepping into very soon. That's what I see, especially starting in Exodus 4. I think we're going to be revisiting the text of Exodus very soon. I mean, we already are revisiting these texts right now, but I mean, when we're reading the plagues of Egypt and all this stuff of Pharaoh, let my people go, this could be of what's coming in the Great Tribulation as well, and the 144,000 maybe. I don't know, but it's very clear that just listening and reading the book of Exodus, the whole book is just a future prophecy as well. So it's very amazing. So I just want to share these insights, and maybe people could search these things out themselves, but to understand where I'm coming from, because I know people say, oh, I make it too complicated, I get too esoteric, and there's probably some truth to that. But at the same time, I know what I say has validity. And unfortunately, my last video with Jacob being blessed as Israel, my point was I couldn't get it across. But to really see that, if anybody's interested and wants to take the time, really do a study on the sacrifice of Abraham's sacrifice to Isaac, because that excerpt of the text is rock solid. Okay, it is rock solid. And look at the meanings of the names, and I'm just talking about the English language. If you know the original Hebrew, I'm sure there's a lot more wisdom and insight in the original Hebrew, but I don't know biblical Hebrew, so really, study the sacrifice of Isaac, and you could see the other dimensions in the text are just astounding, and they are there in the text. And it's not just esoteric babble. I mean, it's all there. When Abraham looked up and he foresaw, the sacrifice of Isaac, and that was a representation of that being a foreshadow. I mean, all this stuff you can find on the internet, but I really think that particular text is so rock solid, and if people could comprehend that, then it opens up new dimensions in the text and different ways we perceive these texts. Okay, I just wanted to share that. Thanks for listening, guys. God bless. Peace out.